Yes.
What 47 GOP said or didn't say after voting yes on gay marriage and the rare split in Florida. On Tuesday, the Respect for Marriage Act passed through the U.S. House with a bipartisan 267 to 157 vote. While the bill does not guarantee same-sex marriage in states, it does require the government to recognize marriages that are performed legally in other states. Of the 47 Republicans who voted on the bill, very few have made statements. Surprisingly, that includes high-profile Representatives Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. Some, like Representative Bacon of Nebraska, made statements in support of the bill on the basis of the Republican ideal of small government and personal freedoms. Others, like Ashley Hinson of Iowa, used that vote to encourage Democrats to help pass Republican bills. From a local standpoint, of the 16 Republican members of the House from here in Florida, only 6 voted yes. Kat Kamek, Michael Waltz, Mario Diaz-Balart, Carlos Jimenez, Maria Elvira Salazar, and Brian Mast. While none of them have commented on the vote, QAnon theorist and embattled suspected human trafficker, Matt Gaetz, did tweet, quote, "Today I voted no on H.R. 8404, the erroneously named Respect for Marriage Act. In a fit of hysteria triggered by one sentence in a concurring opinion by Justice Thomas, Democrats have moved to introduce a bill codifying Obergefell and Hodges. This holding is not in jeopardy. Gay marriage does not offend me nearly as much as offending federalism does through this legislation," end quote. Perhaps the most fair response to the vote came from Republican Peter Mayer of Michigan.
Hey everybody, this is Peter Meyer. We just got off the House floor of voting on the Respect for Marriage Act. Now, while I don't believe there's any threat to either Loving v. Virginia, which made unconstitutional any bans on interracial marriages, or Obergefell v. Hodges, which protected same-sex marriages, I don't think there's any chance of those going away or any political appetite to question them. What happened with the Dobbs concurrence by Justice Thomas was this question of the constitutional basis for those Supreme Court decisions. And what this court has said, they've said, Congress, do your job. Don't rely on the courts to do the legislating. Take up that legislation yourself. And that's frankly what this bill was. I kind of expected this to be filled with poison pills. The bill's only about 3.5 pages long, and it's pretty straightforward. It says, with regards to a marriage between two individuals, regardless of sex, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of race, regardless of national origin, if it is legally performed in one state, it has to be recognized for the purposes of state-based actions such as taxation in another state. That's it. There's no compulsion. There's no threats to religious freedom. There is just the simple question of, in the unlikely event that Loving or Obergefell goes away, making sure that there is an absolute chaos. So I voted in favor of this thing tonight. I think it was the right choice from a limited government standpoint, from a liberty standpoint, and frankly, just from avoiding any circumstance where that type of chaos could come down the line.
So I find this encouraging that it passed, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's also, if you guys remember when marriage equality passed, what was the final push was all these big companies, Apple, McDonald's, and not because they cared about the guys, because they were losing hundreds of millions of dollars in insurance and tax because their gay employees couldn't get married. I think it's the same thing. What if Apple transfers your job from one state to another and you're married and they cover your health insurance? And then there's a thing for taxes, isn't there? Because that state might have a state income tax. So it's kind of like a business mess.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not even about human rights. Just, it is. But, just talking from business point of view, it was going to be a mess.
Yeah.
It was going to be a mess.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and we talked about this story the night that the bill was being voted on. And I did want to bring up the business aspect of it because, we were talking about why is this not such, breaking news as big as it was when marriage equality passed in the Supreme, or was made in the Supreme Court. And you didn't hear companies coming out saying what you're saying, which is, again, if you work for a large, multinational corporation and they move you around the country and you say, oh, I was married in California, but I'm in Iowa now and no longer am I married.
Right.
You can't have a system like that. You can't have a system like that for Social Security benefits, for health care benefits. There's a whole slew of things that would impact LGBTQ or other marriages if they're not recognized across all 50 states. And it should have been the law of the land a long, long, long time ago.
You know, and I think that one of the reasons people aren't really paying a lot of attention to this vote is because it's all about the Senate. And you need what is effectively 20% of Republican senators to vote to break a filibuster. And that's exactly the percentage they got in the House. They got 47 votes, which is exactly 20% of the Republican caucus in the House. When we talk about only 6 members of the 16 Republicans from Florida, that's still more than 20%.
Agreed.
That's like about a third. So really, Florida overperformed, even though 6 out of 16 doesn't sound like a lot. It's still better than the House did. And as far as Liz Cheney, she's probably going to lose her primary in a couple weeks. So she's like, sure, because she has a gay sister.
Yeah.
Her dad, whatever you think of his terribleness as vice president, he has supported his daughter and our community for at least 20 years now.
That's exactly right. And I'm glad you said that, John, because when I heard 6 Republicans from Florida said yes, I was like, wait, what? Back it up. So I felt too, like you did, that was a good percentage from our state. So I'm encouraged. I know a lot of us were very scared after Roe, thinking that they were coming for us next. So I'm encouraged to see this, and it makes me feel better, at least for now.
Yeah. And you know,
See what happens next.
CNN polled all 50 Republican senators, and they've got 4 positive yeses and 8 positive no's, but like 22 people who are sort of like, well, I don't know if we need it. You know, Obergefell isn't going away, and I'll see when I get the bill, which is a lot more than we would have gotten before. It used to be, it would have been 46 no's.
Yeah.
Right.
Just out of the gate.
Exactly.
So maybe once after we get past the election, we get into the lame duck, maybe they'll be able to clear the Senate. We'll see.
Good point. Good
Seems
point.
like we are definitely making progress.
Yes.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.